All right. Well, Sheehan, first of all, I just want to talk a little bit about how you even got to be a musician in the first place. I mean, your mother's from Bangladesh, your father's from Sri Lanka, and you were born in the U.S., where you started playing drums at the age of 5?
That's right.
How did you get into that so early?
I think it was largely because my father actually was a professional musician before he had moved to the States, so it had been I guess it's in my blood, and it was just always at home. My mother, although she isn't a musician, is just an extreme lover of music, so music was always in our house. And I was about 5 years old when my dad started having band practices at home, and I just thought it was the absolute coolest thing ever, and knew that that's exactly what I wanted to do. So yeah, I started off on the drums when I was about 5 or 6.
Well, right, and your dad is actually quite well known back in Sri Lanka, right?
That's right. Yeah.
What is he? Is he more a traditional musician, or what does he play?
He, actually plays Sinhalese music, which is the language in Sri Lanka. But it's very kind of pop oriented. He was kind of in his heyday in the 70s, and I always kind of analogize it to the Beatles and say that he's Paul McCartney of Sri Lanka. So really, if you ask any Sri Lankan around the world now who was in Sri Lanka in the 70s, they know his name, which is really weird for me. But yeah, it's really cool.
Sure. Well, I do wonder if his style has influenced your style at all. Or
it has, actually, because they didn't just play Sinhalese music. They also played a lot of covers, which were popular at the time, like a lot of Beatles stuff, a lot of Eagles stuff, Carlos Santana kind of stuff. And he was always playing the guitar at home, and so I knew everything that he was listening to, even jazz when it came down to that. I'm personally just a blues freak, so all of that came out of, having guitars in the house and a lot of music being on the stereo.
Right. Well, and you mentioned your mother, who was a UN diplomat. Is that correct?
Yeah, still is, actually.
Right. And so as a result of that, you moved around a lot. When you were younger. You were to Laos and you went to Malaysia. And
That's right.
Was in Malaysia where you started picking up the guitar?
Yep, it was. Actually, it was on a summer holiday between moving from Laos to Malaysia. But yeah, I was about 11 years old, and drums, although it's so much fun and I'm in heaven whenever I'm playing them, they're just really hard to move around. It's so much easier to play the guitar as a hobby because you can take it with you wherever you are. It's easy to play it in an apartment, and it's really cool to play the electric guitar. You feel like a rock star, So yeah, that started when I was about 11 and learned on all of the alternative good old stuff back then, Green Day and Bush and Pearl Jam and all of that stuff. So it was good.
So aside from the things that your parents maybe listened to,
right,
and aside from Pearl Jam and things like that, what sort of music have you sort of incorporated into your style? What's influenced your style?
Well, like I said, I'm a blues freak. It was my dad who kind of said, okay, now that I've kind of learned how to play chords, I can switch between chords, and I learned how to play power chords, which is of course the alternative. He said, okay, your next step is going to be blues. And then I started off with just a video. I've actually never taken formal guitar lessons. And the blues has stuck with me ever since. I just can't get out of my head. I really love Jimi Hendrix, and I love a lot of new blues artists. I consider Jimi Hendrix a blues artist. But yeah, I think any other type of music that I've tried to play on the guitar or started to listen to, I always hear the blues aspect in it, and hope to do that in my own writing as well.
So your father did sort of help teach you the musical portion of it, how to play certain things then?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Did he also influence or give you any advice when you started performing on your own about how to prepare, how to perform?
I actually played with him in one of his bands when I was in high school, which was really cool because I got the chance to tour around North America with him on the weekends, and I was a high school student, so I really felt like I was a rock star. But that really exposed me to kind of playing live and also just kind of the hardships of it. That's kind of when playing the guitar every day became not fun every day. But it was a really good experience for me, and he was very careful in telling me when I was going to college that you have to really make a decision about whether or not you're going to do this full time. Advised against it, actually. just keep it as a hobby. So I'm glad I did that because it's a great hobby, and yeah.
Sure. Well, that does bring us up to date, and I've seen some videos of you playing live. So
cool.
Can you tell us a little bit about who you play with, where you play? I mean, where can we go see you if we want to catch a performance?
Nice, nice. Well, I play in 2 bands right now. One of them is a classic rock and blues cover band. We've been together for about almost 10 years now, and it's just me and all of my high school friends. We play a lot of Eric Clapton, a lot of Led Zeppelin, a lot of Jimi Hendrix stuff, and we've moved into newer things. But I also play in an originals band now, which I started with my roommate in New York, and the 2 of us were just writing a lot of songs and wanted to start playing those live, which is a completely different experience. In terms of shows, you'll be able to see both bands at Copperfield, just down the street on Brookline, on April 30th. playing a big show there because it's the day after our last day of classes, and it's also my birthday. So
Well,
it's going to be a party.
I live right down the street from Crawford Field, so
Oh, nice,
I'll have to come and take a look at that. But like you said, music isn't the only thing you're doing. You're also doing an MBA right now. So is that, are you planning to move in sort of a musical direction business-wise?
I would hope to eventually. I've so far had about 4 years of work experience in the music industry, and then also just before I came to business school, worked abroad in Bangladesh, my mother's home country. So what I would really, my dream job is to be working abroad in South Asia, preferably in the music industry, whether it be touring or, you know, distributing musical instruments or running a record label out of there. It's really kind of the two things that are most important to me, which are South Asia and music, and kind of fusing the two is my dream job, and I hope that that's what my MBA is going to help me be able to accomplish.
Well, the next question was going to be what's next, but it sounds like you do have some pretty good and ambitious plans.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, well, thanks very much for joining us.
Well,
we
thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Thanks for having me.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Newsday. I'm Brian Benoit.
Thanks, Brian, and thank you, Sheehan, for joining us. I'm Erin Kelly. We'll be off for a few weeks and back on March 25th when we get a taste of the best of Boston food. And now Sheehan will be setting us off with a performance here in our studio. Have a great day.
It was a sad situation in the Sunday morning rain, standing there outside of that little church. We talked about this for a long, long time, and I thought I felt the same, but I couldn't say I love you out in the rain. Because you talk about yourself and all sorts of fame. Funny, your friends can slander my name. I keep quiet and I watch you carry on. Lord, you've been taking me around the bad parts of town, building me up and chopping me down, but there ain't no way I'm getting married in the pouring rain. Granted you salvation, I saved you from the cold. I told you that I'd be there when we got old. But then through the window a new breeze blew, telling of the change. Well, that wind sure was gusty out in the rain. Because you talk about yourself and all sorts of fame. Funny, your friends can slander my name. I keep quiet and I watch you carry on. Lord, you've been taking me around the bad part.